All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. It is that time of the week, folks. My key games for this weekend in the world of college football. And of course, we're here at the month of November, and it's going to be a November to remember. We just saw the first indoctrination of the college football playoff rankings come out earlier this week. So we can start to get a feel of the teams who are going to be in the mix to be a part of the field of 12. And of course, between now and the end of the regular season, there's going to be a lot of moving and shaking as far as that field goes to try to see who gets to the postseason. But of course, the teams that are in the mix, you still got to go out there and take care of your business. And of course, some of those teams we are going to see in action this weekend. And I have some games that I have circled that I think are going to be very important for this college football race. UT dot simple. How are you doing on this evening? And you are asking me, who do I have winning the Atlantic Coast Conference? Wow. I'm gonna tell you like this. I don't, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't see Virginia coming out and doing what they have done so far this season, which I think is a credit to Tony Elliott. I thought Georgia Tech was going to be in that mix. They're right there. Pitt under head coach Pat Narduzzi. You've got Louisville, okay, with Jeff Brom. I think those are going to be the big players. I'll tell you like this though, I don't think it's going to be Miami. I think Miami, in my opinion, blew their chances. They now have two conference losses, and not only do they have two conference losses, but the teams in front of them that beat them are in front of them rather. And of course, Clemson has been a train wreck this season. If I had to put a team at the top of the list, I'm going with Georgia Tech. Honestly, I like the Yellow Jackets under Brent Key. I like the experience at quarterback with Haynes King. And I think that combo, and of course, the Yellow Jackets' ability to run the football, I think is going to really serve them well coming down the stretch here in the regular season. You're saying probably still Tech to me. I think they could beat Georgia. I'll tell you like this. I'm not one to play the woulda, coulda, shoulda card, but Georgia Tech really should have beat Georgia last year in clean, old-fashioned hate. And of course, the Yellow Jackets came up so short, just short. They gave it everything that they had. This time around, of course, they get the Dogs at home. That's going to be a very interesting game. But of course, it's one of those where it still means something. But if you're Georgia Tech, your best shot to probably get to the playoff is definitely going to be to win the ACC, and I definitely like the Jackets' chances there. Yeah, you're saying Miami was done in by SMU, and it was like, you know what, the dumb penalties in that game last Saturday, and then of course SMU is a tough out at home as well. SMU is a good team. Remember, SMU got to the ACC championship game a year ago. So when it's all said and done, I think it's going to be Georgia Tech. In my opinion, I like Louisville as well. Virginia, I think they're a Cinderella this year, and I still think it's a good story with how everything is coming together under Tony Elliott. But like I said, if I had to be a betting man, I would take the Jackets. Oh, oh, I didn't know that. Okay, thank you for letting me know that. You're saying that the game between Georgia and Georgia Tech is going to be at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I did not know that. I thought that it was going to Bobby Dodd. Well, thank you for letting me know that. It's one of those where I wish the game was at Bobby Dodd, just due to the fact that they played in Athens last year. And of course, Mercedes-Benz Stadium has basically been Georgia's de facto home away from home. But I'll tell you like this, playing that game against Georgia Tech in Atlanta, minutes away from Georgia Tech's campus. I want to see how the crowd is going to be in that one because typically when Georgia goes to Atlanta, whether it's the SEC championship game, college football playoff, whatever, they typically have the crowd. So let's see how that plays out. Now, hang tight, my man, because I got some games that I want to talk about that I know that you're going to be interested in. Definitely, please feel free to drop some comments in the chat box. And I want to start off with one in the Big Ten tomorrow. I almost said Pac-10. Okay, please forgive me for that. But we've got Northwestern traveling to the Coliseum in Los Angeles to take on 19th ranked Southern Cal. And of course, the men of Troy, they come into this one favored by 14 and a half. They're hanging around in that Big Ten race. They're part of that pack of one-loss teams in the Big Ten. And of course, USC is trying to right some wrongs and get to the college football playoff this year for the first time in program history. Very talented offense for the Trojans this year with quarterback Jaden Mayava. You got running backs Wayman Jordan as well as King Miller and wide receiver Makai Lemon. I like this USC defense under defensive coordinator Danton Lynn. Keep an eye out for linebacker Eric Gentry as well as safety Bishop Fitzgerald. Northwestern, they're going to have their work cut out for them as they head west to pull off that upset tomorrow night. You're saying USC gets it done. I do as well. And I like the men of Troy at home, 34-20. Now, tomorrow night in the American Conference, it's a big one as you've got Tulane traveling to take on Memphis. And we right now have 6 teams in the American Conference that have one loss. Something has got to give between now and the end of the month. And I think this is going to be a big one right here. We just saw Tulane take it on the chin against UTSA. The Green Wave have a talented team. Make no mistake about it. When you're talking about the likes of wide receiver Amari Haynes, as well as Javian White in that secondary. But Memphis is looking to win the American for the first time since 2019. Okay. They've got a very strong team. You got quarterback Brendan Lewis, running back Sutton Smith, and wide receiver Cortez Braham on this offense. And then you got a linebacker like Sam Brumfield on this defense. You're saying Memphis very well is the playoff favorite. Hey, everything is set up right now for the Tigers to get to the playoff. But of course, they got to go out there and take care of their business or continue to take care of their business. I think they get it done tomorrow night at home. They're a 3.5 point favorite. I like them by 10, 34-24. Now, moving ahead to Saturday, and this is going to be a big one in the Big 12 Conference. We're talking about 7th-ranked BYU traveling to Lubbock to take on 8th-ranked Texas Tech. And of course, for for BYU rather, they're the only undefeated team within the Big 12, and they're the only undefeated team, period, in the Big 12 Conference. But who is breathing right down their necks in for first place in this league? And it's going to be Cincinnati, of course. Pardon me, Texas Tech. Both them and Cincinnati are 5-1. So I look at this team, and I look at this game rather, and I want to start with the defenses. And I mean, the Red Raiders, they're 10th in the nation in defense, and this is a defense that really knows how to get after you with the likes of linebackers David Bailey and Jacob Rodriguez, and then you've got a guy like Bryce Pollock in that secondary. Baron Morton at quarterback for Texas Tech has been solid, and the Red Raiders do have some talent with the likes of wide receiver Caleb Douglas and running back Cameron Dickey. Now, for BYU, they know that they're going into a hostile environment, and they're expecting to get running back LJ Martin back, which is going to be huge. I talked about BYU and their defense. Jack Kelly at linebacker is the real deal. And then you got to keep an eye out for a guy like cornerback Evan Johnson in that secondary. The Red Raiders are favored heavy in this game. They're favored by 10.5. I like them by 6. I think BYU is going to make it close, 30-24. Yeah, Texas Tech, to your point, they're ranked ninth in the AP poll, but in the current college football playoff poll, they're eighth. BYU is ranked eighth, I think, in the AP poll, and they got moved up to seventh. So I think this is an opportunity for both of these teams to make a statement in this one. I think Texas Tech has a big home field advantage in this one that they take advantage of. Now, in the Sun Belt Conference, okay, we have Southern Mississippi traveling to take on Arkansas State. And this is a big game right here because you look at that Western Division of the Sun Belt. Southern Miss is 4-0, and then both Arkansas State and Troy are 4-1. And who just handed Troy their first conference loss of the season? It was Arkansas State. You look at it, this is a big time battle to try to win this division just to get to the conference championship game. Southern Miss is a very talented team with the likes of Braylon Braxton and quarterback, excuse me, and then we've got linebackers Michael Montgomery and Chris Jones. Also, Jamon Tapp on the defensive line for the Golden Eagles. Can he go out there and make an impact? On the flip side, for the Red Wolves of Arkansas State, you've got Jalen Rayner at quarterback, wide receiver Chauncey Cobb, and then you got a defensive player like defensive end DeMarcus Hendricks. Arkansas State, they started off slow, but they have won their last 4 games. However, with all of that said, the Golden Eagles are favored by 3.5 or 4.5 rather on the road. I like Southern Miss by 3 though, 30-27. Now, getting to the SEC, we've got third-ranked Texas A&M traveling to take on 26th ranked or 22nd ranked Missouri. And for A&M, of course, they're still undefeated and they want to try to keep on rolling. Marcel Reed at quarterback. If you have not seen him, this kid is the real deal, folks. A&M is going to run the football real well with their combo of backs and Reuben Owens and Le'Veon Moss. 2 underrated and talented wide receivers, as far as I'm concerned, for A&M with Mario Craver and KC Concepcion. And I like this defense under head coach Mike Elko. It's one of those where it kind of has like a wrecking crew type mindset, and it all starts up front with defensive end Cassius Howe. La Drop Top T, what's going on, my man? You're saying Mizzou is a trap game. Yes, it is. Okay, I'll be real with you. Missouri's ranked number 22 overall. They have 2 losses, 2 conference losses, but if you're A&M, you cannot overlook them. I'll say this: since Missouri has joined the SEC, regardless of who the coach is, teams that go there that are ranked always have to find a way to pack a lunch if they want to get past this Missouri Tigers team. Now, no Bo Perbula at quarterback. That's going to be big for Eli Drinkwitz's Missouri team. You still got 2 talented running backs with Jamal Roberts and Ahmed Hardy, as well as defensive ends Damon Wilson and Zion Young. I think what Missouri needs to do, defensively, they want to try to get themselves a turnover early. Offensively, they want to try to get a score and keep the crowd into the game, which is going to be easier said than done. A&M's got a very good team. They come into this one favored by 6.5. I like them by 10, 30-20. Now, going down the list, another matchup of ranked teams in the college football playoff rankings, as we got 9th ranked Oregon traveling to Iowa City to take on the 20th ranked Hawkeyes of Iowa. And of course, the Ducks come into this one favored by 6.5. And for all you fine folks out there that are listening, you are going to see 2 of the better defenses in college football in this one. Oregon is 4th, while Iowa is 3rd. Dan Lanning's team can mix it up, and they're not afraid to get physical and get after you. And of course, we know what Kurt Ferentz's Iowa team can do defensively. You look at a guy like Max Llewellyn on the defensive line for the Hawkeyes, and then you look at a guy like linebacker Bryce Betcher for the Ducks, one of the better defensive players in the Big Ten as far as I'm concerned. I think this game right here is going to come down to which team is going to be able to score touchdowns as opposed to having to settle for field goals. The Ducks are favored by 6.5 in this one. They're really going to have to work. I like Oregon, but it won't be easy. 24-16. You're saying A&M has to go 8-4. Trust they find a way. Well, I'll tell you like this, man. And I've been watching college football for quite some time. This is probably one of the best Texas A&M teams that I've seen probably since they were still in the Southwest Conference. Okay, um, they've been in the SEC now. I think what 12, 13 years, give or take, and they have never gotten to Atlanta for the SEC championship game. If ever there was a year for that to happen, if ever there was a year for them to get to the college football playoff, I think this is the time for the Aggies. I'm just holding out hope, my man. But going right down the list and staying in the SEC, we've got LSU traveling to Tuscaloosa, excuse me, to take on fourth-ranked Alabama, an Alabama team that Texas A&M could possibly meet in Atlanta if both of them are able to navigate their way through this month and get to the SEC championship game. So it's still a big rivalry game right here. We know how the losses, have racked up for LSU this season. They're 5-3. This is their first game after the firing of Brian Kelly, and Frank Wilson is going to try to right the ship for the Bayou Bengals. Easier said than done. Alabama comes into this game favored big at home. They're 9.5-point favorites. I think the biggest thing for me for Bama, they've got to keep their foot on the gas because with this game right here, this is LSU's first game after they fired Brian Kelly. Those kids are going to go out there and play their tails off. And this one, I truly do expect that. And I think Alabama has to be prepared for this. It's still a rivalry game. Alabama is the better team. You look at the talent, which includes the likes of Ty Simpson and quarterback. Their wide receivers are Jeremy Bernard and Ryan Williams, and then a guy like Justin Jefferson at linebacker, as well as Bray Hubbard in the secondary. Alabama takes care of their business because I think Kalen DeBoer has the team, and he's going to have his team ready to play in this one. I like the Tide at home, 34-20. Now, some people might say, why am I going to sit up here and talk about Navy and Notre Dame? Well, Notre Dame is ranked 10th in the nation. We just saw Navy suffer their first defeat last week on the road against a very, very good North Texas team. For me, of course, Navy's not ranked. Like I said, Notre Dame is 10th. The Irish come into this one heavily favored by 26.5 points. But even with all of that said, the Irish cannot look past the midshipmen. You know what you're going to get with Navy, a heavy dose of the triple option. You got a veteran quarterback and Blake Horvath running things. You've got running back Alex Texa, as well as slot back Eli Heidenreich. Navy has some athletes on this defense, which includes linebacker Mark Anthony Parker, as well as Landon Robinson on that defensive line. But you brought up the Aggies. That was the last team that Notre Dame lost to, and the Irish have looked like a different team ever since then. Quarterback C.J. Carr, he's a redshirt freshman, but really, he's really no longer a freshman at this point of the season. You talk about the run game. I like the way that Notre Dame can get after you with their physicality, with running backs Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price, and then they get after you defensively. 16 interceptions so far this season for Notre Dame. Granted, Navy doesn't throw the football a lot, but Notre Dame's going to get after you. I think they take care of their business in this one, 41-20. And finally, my last key game for this weekend, going to the Mountain West, we've got San Diego State traveling to the 50th state to take on Hawaii. And the Aztecs, they're going to head out to Honolulu, favored by 6.5 points, and they are looking to remain the only undefeated team within Mountain West play. So, what is San Diego State's specialty this year? It's their defense. The Aztecs are ranked sixth in the nation, and they can get after you, and they are a very physical bunch. You got to look at the likes of a guy like Trey White getting to the quarterback, linebacker Owen Chambliss. You've got Chris Johnson in that secondary, and then San Diego State is running the football with the likes of Lucky Sutton. For Hawaii, and of course, Timmy Chang, you know that they're going to have to try to get after you with their passing game, okay, with Micah Alahado. But I like Hawaii's offense. However, I like the San Diego State defense better. And I think the Aztecs go out there, take care of their business, stay undefeated within the Mountain West. And, we've talked about Memphis possibly getting that group of five bid should they win out. Keep an eye out for San Diego State. We just saw them, dominate a good Boise State team recently. I like the Aztecs in this one, 33 to 20. So those are my key games for this weekend in the world of college football. And like I said, the action is heating up. So far in the first stage of the rankings, we saw four teams from the SEC be ranked in the field of 12. So the SEC was not thrilled that, of course, the Big Ten got four last year and they got three. But of course, the Big Ten won it all last year. The SEC is definitely going to be trying to pushing to get four teams. You look at the teams in that league that I feel who are going to have a say in this thing. I think A&M is going to be in the mix. Alabama definitely. You got to keep an eye out for Georgia. And Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin, that's going to be a biggie right there. Now, Texas, they've got one loss within the conference, but of course, that other loss came on the road in Columbus to Ohio State. That last game of the season is going to be big, and that's the way that it should be. Texas A&M against Texas, and I think it is so good to see the Aggies and Longhorns back in the same conference and playing each other every single year. I don't think Oklahoma is going to be a playoff team when it's all said and done. Just my 2 cents right there. Big Ten wise, of course, we have six teams rather ranked in the top 25 in the rankings right now. I think Ohio State and Indiana are locks. For me, also looking at the Big Ten, Oregon could be a team to keep an eye out for, as could be USC. And I think USC and Oregon do play each other in a couple of weeks, which could be a de facto elimination game right there. Yeah, I think that game is at Texas. Let me just double check because I feel like they played at College Station last year. Just bear with me for one moment. Yeah, that's the last game of the season. Texas A&M has to travel to Austin for that one. And speaking of Texas, this is why things are going to be very interesting. The Longhorns are off this week after they beat Vandy at home. Next Saturday, the 15th, Texas has to go to Athens to take on Georgia. That right there, I think, is going to be a beaut. And I think that game is really going to help to shape the picture in the college football playoff race. ACC wise, it could be, in my opinion, we might see the ACC possibly as a one bid league this year. Once again, we don't know, depending on how this thing breaks down. Big 12 wise, I think the Big 12 possibly might get two teams this year. We got to wait and see. And then, of course, there's Notre Dame. And like I always say, you got a lot of people out there who don't want to see Notre Dame get in. And the reason why is because Notre Dame is a bid stealer, if you will, being that they're an independent. But of course, I think the Irish only have to finish in the top 12 or top 15 to get that bid for the college football playoff. And of course, like I said last year, Notre Dame is never going to join a conference. Why? Because unlike everybody else, when Notre Dame gets to the college football playoff, they don't have to share the money with a conference. And we saw Notre Dame lose their first two games of the season. They still were ranked. The committee likes them, of course. It's Notre Dame, and you look at the rest of their schedule. They've got Navy Saturday. They're at Pitt. They're home for Syracuse, and then they finish up in Palo Alto against Stanford. I don't see Notre Dame losing another game, at least in the regular season. So I think they are going to once again be playoff bound. And of course, if Notre Dame is playoff bound, they're taking a spot away from a power conference because, of course, you always have to factor in the group of five. And speaking of that group of five, like I said, I think right now it is Memphis's American Conference to lose. They control their own destiny. The win over South Florida was big for them, and especially if they can knock off Tulane on Saturday. Memphis has an opportunity to go 11-1, and I think if they do that, you'd be hard pressed to keep them out of the college football playoff. San Diego State is another team to keep an eye out for. I think right now, the way that things are shaping up in the Mountain West, especially after the injury to Maddox Madsen at quarterback for BYU. That league is looking like it is the Aztecs to lose. So I think those right now have to be the two favorites to get the Group of Five bid. Yeah, you're saying right now Memphis is in. They are. They with the first rankings, they are ranked number 12. So everything is there for them for the taking to see if they can go out there and finish the deal. Um, yeah, Notre Dame again. Like, listen, all they got to do is finish. I think in the top 12 or top 15, and they're playoff bound. So it's a sweet deal, and it's even sweeter right now for Notre Dame because since they got away from the format last year where the top four bids went to the four highest ranked conference champions. They did away with that, and now it's going to be the four highest ranked teams. And remember, last year, if it wasn't for that, Notre Dame would have been a top four team, and they would have had a first round bye last year. I don't think Notre Dame is going to get a first round bye this year if they get into the playoff. But at the end of the day, just get in. That's all that matters. Okay. But nonetheless, I think this month is going to be insane. I think not all of the 12 teams that we see currently in the top 12 for the rankings are going to be there. You got to settle it on the gridiron, and that's what it's all about. And I think this, like I said, this month is going to be very, very exciting because of that. A lot of these teams play each other, and that's going to be important because, yeah, there's going to be some team scoreboard watching this, that, and the third. But at the end of the day, you've got to go out there and take care of your business on Saturday afternoons or Friday nights or whenever. Win and get in. Don't sit up there and make excuses. Don't look for help, this, that, and the third. You control your destiny. Go take care of your business. But, folks, that's going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. UT.simple, drop top. Definitely appreciate you chiming in. Definitely appreciate the support. And as always, please don't be a stranger to this. You're saying you think the final is going to be A&M, go Bama, Indiana, Ohio State, Texas Tech, BYU, Georgia Tech, Memphis, then two more at large bids. I think A&M gets in. I think Alabama handles their business. Indiana's the real deal. They made a believer out of me after they went to Eugene and beat Oregon a couple of weeks ago. Ohio State, after that Michigan loss last year, the Buckeyes have just taken it to a whole nother stratosphere. I mean, there's not much you can say right there. I like Texas Tech right at this point to win the Big 12. I think BYU is still a very good team. You have to keep an eye out for them, Georgia Tech and Memphis. So I'm basically lock and toe with a lot of your picks as far as the teams that you see getting to the college football playoff. I think that Oregon USC game in a couple of weeks is going to be big as far as who gets that other bid out of the Big Ten Conference. Ole Miss is definitely going to be in the mix coming out of the SEC. Lane Kiffin has done some of his best coaching so far. So, like I said, there's so much that has yet to be decided. Yeah, you're saying Oregon probably in. Yeah, Ole Miss. Yeah, um, the Ducks. I think the Ducks could benefit, like I said, if they go out there. They got a tough one with Iowa. They're going to have a tough one with USC, and it's one of those where they'll probably benefit from not having to go to the conference championship game this year. Remember, they won the Big Ten last year. They beat Penn State, and I think Oregon just got a bad draw. They would have had to face Ohio State at some point anyway. But of course, we saw the Buckeyes boat race the Ducks in the Rose Bowl last year. So, but Oregon still has a very good team under Dan Lanning. So, like I said, a lot still has to be decided over this last month of the season, and I think it's going to be very exciting. That's my 2 cents, man. But guys, definitely appreciate you for chiming in tonight. Please don't be a stranger on this channel. If you like what you heard and saw, Just hit that like button as well as subscribing to this channel. Like I always say, it's greatly appreciated. Also, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, check me out anytime at 300 pounds of sports. And if you give me the follow, I'll do the same in return. And that same also goes for Instagram, where you can check me out at 300 pounds of sports knowledge. And also, if you're on Facebook, definitely check out the Sports Depot 365. As far as I'm concerned, one of the better sports debating groups going on social media. UT Simple, love dot drop top T. Definitely appreciate you chiming in. Definitely appreciate the comments. Definitely appreciate the support. And like I always say, don't be a stranger. One more I got from you. You're saying could be so much more different. Thanks for talking good and chopping it up. Listen, much love, much respect to you. Like I said, don't be a stranger, man. But until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I'm signing off and I'm saying thanks once again for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.